So the only what people can see is above that surface. But what they can't see is the work that's been done. The root system is the know-how, the process, okay? Humility, the way you guys handle it more than anybody in the city. One step at a time, right? But the root system's in place. The root system's in place.
It's week number 11 of this National Football League season, and time for another edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, here inside the Globe Life Studios at the beautiful Star in Frisco. Bill Jones, along with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. It's Monday Night Football this week as the Houston Texans come to town. They got a 6-4 record. It starts a stretch, Coach, where you've got 3 games in the span of 11 days, kind of starting the second half of the season. What's your sense of the resolve that this team has, where it is right now going into this stretch?
Well, I mean, I definitely like the way that they're approaching it through this preparation phase. So, I mean, they've stayed the course. Still got some moving pieces. Hopefully we can get everybody ready by Monday, and really looking forward to this contest against the Texans. So, this is for the showdown of Texas, and a lot of pride goes into this football game. We know where we are in our season. They're coming off of a tough Sunday night game against Detroit. So, we're just really dialed into the matchup, and we haven't played these guys since 2022. So we're looking forward to this challenge.
Oh yeah, when you look at let's start with DeMeco Ryan's defense, and they're in top 5 in the league, total defense, pass defense, takeaways as well. What do you see when you look across there?
Well, a lot of similarities to San Francisco. I mean, it's just like anything, it starts up front. So they got multiple players up front, particularly starting with their edge pieces. The way you have to play against these guys is very pertinent. So, and that really starts with running the football. We have to run the football, which is, I think I sit here and say this every week. But not only run it, but the consistency of running it for 4 quarters. So it's definitely going to take a 4-quarter run game and all the good things that'll come off of that.
Yeah, Cooper Rush this week. How does the extra day of work this week factor into getting this offense in sync?
Well, it definitely helps. Just like anything, because it's different when you come in as a backup, but now you have the ball and you have the full responsibility of carrying the whole plan and make sure you're exercising that. We have some new wrinkles too with Jonathan Mingo, and so just some things we're trying to get going. It definitely helps without a doubt. It really kind of helps us for moving forward too. With the 6-day game and then the 4-day game.
Sure. And so let me ask you about Jonathan Mingo. He's been here a week now. How are things going and what did you like about Mingo, even going back to the draft last year and making this move?
Well, I think just like anything, everybody has a profile which we look for in receivers, and he fits that profile. I mean, you look at his body type, his skill set, to play inside and outside, physical, has done the dirty work in the C-gap, so that's definitely evident on film in Carolina. So there's a lot there. And I can tell you just the little he's been here and the opportunities he's been given to go vertical, he's definitely has shown some vertical juice.
When I ask you in particular about one guy on the Texans defense who you're familiar with going back to your Packer days, and of course Mike Zimmer very familiar with him, that's Danielle Hunter, who was a 3rd-round pick back in 2015. He's got 93 sacks in his career. You see his progress and look at him on film now and the pass rush moves that he has incorporated into his game over the last decade, really. What do you see?
Definitely. He's played great football in this league for a decade, as you stated. But, coming off of last year, with those huge numbers, I think he might be playing some of the best football of his career. So he's a great scheme fit for Houston, and it definitely, you talk about bookends, they definitely have him in Houston.
Yep, and of course he had a 16.5 sack season last year for Minnesota. Your offensive line at the tackle position, Awesome Richards looked like he did a really fine job last week, finding out at midweek that he was going to be starting, getting Tyler Guyton back into the mix. You got Chuma Edoga as well, who now his time is coming soon, it looks like, coming off of injured reserve. How do you look at things at the tackle position?
Well, I feel like we have good numbers, and we've got a really healthy rotation going through the week. Very, very pleased and with Awesome's opportunity last week against Philadelphia. I thought he did a really nice job, especially on a short week notice. So I just want to continue to grow, our young players there, and it's really nice to have Chuma back.
All right, we continue with more of the Mike McCarthy Show in just a moment. It's David Moore, the Dallas Morning News.
Yeah, you see a lot of the same style. Fast, physical defense that flies around. They got dudes at every level of the defense, and that's kind of his imprint. And you see some of the San Fran things as well. And that defense has been around for a while, and it's been always productive.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant. was brought to you by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. Ford, your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now here inside the Globe Live studios, as I am now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, Sports Today, DFW.com. And David, let's talk about the quarterback situation a little bit. There's a school of thought out there from some fans. They want to see the young guy. Instead, it's Cooper Rush. So Cooper Rush versus Trey Lance. What do you think the game plan is going forward as far as using these quarterbacks?
Let me say the school of thought outside of the coaching staff is usually different than what the coaching staff school of thought is. I understand wanting to jump ahead and see Trey Lance. You have the most questions about him. He's the most intriguing. But I will point out there are 8 games left. Cooper Rush, as bad as he was in that Philadelphia game, when this coaching staff had seen him before, he was 5-1 and won some meaningful games for very good teams. He's earned the right to play his way out of that position, if you will. I had always thought that no matter how this played out, it was unlikely that you would see Trey Lance before Thanksgiving, because I just thought you have these 3 games now coming up very quickly. You're in a stretch where Monday, where it's 8, 6, and 4, and you have 3 games knocking out. That's not a lot of prep time for a guy who hasn't started in the system. So I believe you will see Trey Lance this season if it continues to unfold the way it has. I still think it's unlikely that it would be before Thanksgiving. That being said, if Cooper Rush has another uncharacteristic performance as bad as it was against Philadelphia, then I think everything's on the table at that point.
Yeah, I think with 3 games in 11 days, you go with a veteran guy, and there's still going to be plenty of time to see Trey Lance the rest of the season, depending on how this all shakes out the next 3 games, in fact. All right, DeMarvion Overshown. Everyone's raving about him with good reason. He is one of the real positives that looks like is going to come out of this season.
Arguably top of the list right now, I think you would say. I think BB's done well at center as well. But Overshown, a lot of excitement about him last year, had the torn ACL, never got on the field as a rookie. But, Dan Quinn, when he was the defensive coordinator last year, was already carving out packages for a rookie in their defense last year. Different defensive coordinator this year, you kind of had to get a feel for him. You didn't see Overshown in a lot of some of the packages early just because they weren't sure what they had, but you've really seen them come on. And now I think you really saw in the Philadelphia game, now that Micah Parsons is back, it unlocks even more for DeMarvion Overshown. Those 2 guys with their speed can really make a difference defensively.
And when I look at the second half of this season, the last 8 games, I can't think of a player on this roster that this means more for than Tyler Guyton. They really need Tyler Guyton on that field the last half of the season going forward into next year.
I agree with you completely. They're not down on Tyler Guyton by any means, but he hasn't hit the field and been ready to contribute from day one the way Tyler Smith was 2 years ago, who was drafted in that comparable position in the first round. He's already missed all of 2 games and part of a third. Asim Richards stepped in and played pretty well in that Philadelphia game. Tyler Guyton needs to stay on the field and fight through some of these injuries that have kept him from really kind of showing a needle of progress that they'd like to see pointing up.
Coach McCarthy indicates that we could be seeing Jonathan Mingo this week. How important is it for Jonathan Mingo really to show what he can do the last half of the year?
Well, they traded a 4th-round pick for him. This was a guy who was the 39th player in the draft 2 years ago. They really liked, considered taking. What Dallas has done is they addressed the wide receiver after CeeDee Lamb. They'll use a pick in 2nd or 3rd round like Tolbert. The others are 6th and 7th round picks. They go pretty deep. Mingo, from a talent perspective, if this is a good fit for him in this system, I think can give them something they don't have now. He certainly has a size speed ratio that not a lot of receivers on this roster have.
All right, David Moore, we appreciate it. Up next here on the Mike McCarthy Show, we hear from the locker room, and Will McClay breaks down the Texans.
This segment was brought to you by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. This segment is brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort. Proud to be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly.
Very familiar with those guys. I know pretty much all of them personally, either played with them in college or grew up with them. So each and every one of them are very young, very fierce. They play fast, play together, and they got a great DC head coach, if you will, in D'Amico.
And now the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues as we welcome in Will McClay. As usual, we're going to break down these Houston Texans, both sides of the football. How about we start on offense at the running back position, number 28, Joe Mixon.
Yep, Joe Mixon comes over from Cincinnati. What they want to do is run the football first, and we'll take a look at here. What he does a great job with is running with power and then the contact balance. So he sees it in the hole. Now the jump cut to separate laterally, and then contact balance, 1, 2, 3. How many people is it going to take to bring him down? A big part of their offense coming back from an injury.
4, 5, 6, 7, as all told. All right, how about the quarterback, C.J. Stroud, in his second year out of Ohio State?
All right, here we're going to look at Nico Collins coming back from injury, but also Stroud's ability to read coverage and then the arm strength to make this deep, accurate throw. He sees too high safety, he sees him leaving, and he makes a perfect throw for a big play.
That was a throw in the air of beyond 60 yards right there. And Nico Collins, by the way, coming back from injury, he's coming back for this game on Monday night.
Big part of what they do. All right, we'll take another look here. They're going to motion him inside. Quarterback's going to see the coverage. But then you talk about an accurate placement throw and the ability, what we say, to layer the throw. There's the DB. He throws it over the top of him and a dime in a spot where only the receiver can catch it.
All right, and then an example as well, a young quarterback being able to read coverage here.
Here we go again, all right? We're going to see it. They're going to take speed against single high, and he knows where the void is. He sees zone coverage. He moves, and then he throws that throwing away into an open window to Collins. Again, a big favorite target of his.
All right, on the defensive side of the football, D'Amico Ryans has a couple of bookends now at defensive end. Let's start with Will Anderson out of Alabama.
Yeah, Will Anderson. He's got power, speed, intelligent, but also the ability. We talk about pass rushers finishing at the top. Here he is being held and still being able to turn the corner, stay on his feet, and sack an athletic quarterback.
And a guy who has been doing it for a while in this league on the other side, wears number 55 for the Texans, former Minnesota Viking Danielle Hunter.
Danielle Hunter is just an absolute blur off of the edge, and they do a great job of using him on games. We talk about above the 2.8. Here they go running the game. He's going to get to the quarterback in about 2 seconds and then just tire him out as everybody chases him around for a sack.
All right.
Disruption.
Well, there's an example of what to look for on the other side of the football for the Houston Texans. Our thanks to Will McClay. And the head coach rejoins us when the Mike McCarthy Show continues in just a moment.
This segment was brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort. Proud to be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly.
3, 2. The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now as the coach rejoins us. We get you ready for Monday Night Football this week, the Cowboys and the Houston Texans. Let's talk about this Texans offense, and of course it starts with C.J. Stroud, the quarterback, had a really fine rookie season last year, just 5 picks, 23 touchdown passes, continuing it this year. When you saw C.J. Stroud coming out of Ohio State last year, what do you see, and what are you most impressed with here early in his career?
Well, I just think the consistency, from year 1 to year 2. I mean, you talk about a young man that has tremendous arm talent, can make the pressure throws, from a phone booth. That's really stood out to me on his film right away, and his decision making. I mean, to have those interception, to touchdown ratio numbers to me speaks volumes. So he's obviously has command of the offense. And having Joe there now mixing is definitely a nice addition. But I think he's I've been super impressed with this young man.
And you alluded to it there, the throws out of the phone booth when he's got a collapsing pocket and still can throw it on a dime, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, his shoulder rotation and elbow flexibility, and he can really stroke it. But to have that short stroke pressure throw is something that I thought really jumped off the tape last year, watching him last year, and he's obviously continued to do it.
Now, he's been sacked 34 times this season in 10 games. You got the sack production in the first half last week with 5. It's kind of nice having that Micah Parsons guy back, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Micah just creates so much pressure, and definitely just from an identification standpoint, where he is. I think we had him for about 35 plays, so that was a really good number for him to come back and definitely impacted the game.
And you look at DeMarvion Overshown. I think he was 48 snaps in the game. Of course, came out for a little bit, but looks to be okay now. 11 tackles, couple of sacks. Wow. I mean, he just flies off the tape.
Yeah, definitely. And he just needs to keep playing. I mean, that's the most important statistic for him because he plays so physically and plays with his hair on fire all the time. So this young man just keeps getting better and better each week.
I want to ask you about one of the explosive players. They've got several on their offense, but it looks like they may be getting Nico Collins back. And high volume as far as his targets this year, his production, averaging over 100 yards a game, and big receiver at 6'4", 215.
Yeah, he can do it all. I mean, inside, outside, go over the top. So, I mean, he's obviously a favorite target. Just very physical at the catch point, contact, contested catches, all the above. So, very, very impressed with his video.
And you mentioned Joe Mixon earlier, his physical run style and his production in the league. What has he added to this Texas?
Well, I think Joe would always like about his run style. He doesn't waste any steps. I mean, he's very disciplined in his courses, puts his foot down, and he just keeps you in that favorable, yardage. With that, and has the ability to bounce the ball to the edge, and get around the corner. So, he's a proven player for quite some time in our league.
One guy I want to ask you about on your defensive line, Mozzie Smith. We talked about him early in the season. How's Mozzie progressing now? He's coming off a game in which he had 4 tackles last week.
Yeah, definitely. I think the more we play with Mozzie, the more opportunities, particularly with his ability to move and stun from the nose position. So I thought he was very productive on the movement part, but just continue to work and play with more consistency. So I thought he did some really good things against Philadelphia.
Dak Prescott had his surgery in New York earlier this week. Have you had a chance to talk with Dak, and how are things progressing with him?
Yeah, definitely had a chance to talk to him before and after the surgery. So he's in good spirits, and I think stating the obvious, he's glad it's behind him, and just really wants to get back to work. I mean, he talked more about getting back here and getting out of the hospital and all those things. So, but we're all definitely glad he's passed and everything went well.
All right, we wrap up the Mike McCarthy Show in just a moment.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Final couple of minutes here of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Time for my unsung star of the week, and I'm citing him as an unsung star of the week because you didn't notice him after about the first quarter of the game, because Philadelphia never threw at him the rest of the game, it didn't seem like. But Trayvon Diggs, what a phenomenal interception in the end zone, and then he was quiet the rest of the game because they're not going his way.
Yeah, playing really good football. That was a huge play in the game, obviously, there in the first half. So, yeah, and then, he'll get some action this week. I think just the way this game is lining up and the matchups that are out there. But, yeah, I thought Trey probably had one of his better games this year.
And, of course, this had been a game that he was really circling because his brother, of course, Stephon Diggs, had the ACL injury a couple of weeks ago. But how big is it when you're playing this turnover game and having a guy like Trayvon that you can rely on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think just look at his career here. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. And, our takeaways, going into this year speak for themselves. So, I mean, that's been a big part of our success. And, he's one of the leaders in the band.
All right, we appreciate it, Coach, and good luck against those Texans on Monday night.
Thank you, Bill.
All of you for joining us here for the Mike McCarthy Show, and we will see you again next week when the Cowboys travel to take on the Washington Commanders.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant, is brought to you by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. Ford, your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. And to watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV.